What's up with Ed Oliver? How is the plan for onboarding Matt Milano going? What about Sean McDermott? What about Taron Johnson? We're breaking it all down for you today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of Go Bills and Buffalo's Run, also the co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. I'd also like to invite you to subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com to get started. Well, folks, welcome in. It's time for Herd Mentality, the weekly episode where you control the discussion, and the questions were very, very consistent about Matt Milano and Taron Johnson and Sean McDermott and Ed Oliver and playoff concerns. And so it's dealer's choice. We'll talk about that stuff today. Let's get into it. First one from TJ, who says, please give us a breakdown of Ed Oliver. After last season, that contract felt like an absolute steal. That Ed Oliver was going to be a game wrecker, game in and game out, something other teams needed to really zero in on and take him away while freeing up space for others. Now, granted, I don't watch the film, and that's where you come into play, but how truly ineffective has Ed Oliver been this year, going from 9.5 sacks in a breakout year to being a completely forgotten piece of the team while simultaneously being one of the higher paid players on the team causes me to be concerned for the remainder of this year, but also years to come. All right, so let's do it. Let's have an Ed Oliver conversation. Let's start by acknowledging the massive downtick in production. In 2023, in 16 regular season games, Oliver had 51 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 9.5 sacks, 65 pressures, and a pass rush win rate of 13.4%. This year, in 11 games, 20 tackles, so down from 51, and again, it's 5 less games. 2 tackles for loss, down from 14. 1 sack, down from 9.5. 25 pressures, down from 65. And a pass rush win rate of 8.4%, down from 13.4%. Numbers have gone down a lot. The impact has gone down a lot. So the lack of impact that you're feeling from watching broadcasts is evidenced in the numbers, but also when you do study the tape, Ed Oliver is not as impactful. He's not getting off blocks. He's not making plays. He's getting rooted out in run defense a fair amount. It's not been the year anybody hoped for out of Ed Oliver after just a really, really encouraging 2023 campaign. As for the contract, Ed Oliver is paid $17 million a season. That's the 17th highest paid defensive tackle. So it's a healthy contract. I am not trying to persuade you that it isn't. It's also not the Christian Wilkins or Chris Jones type deal, right? It's probably a third-tier defensive tackle contract when you look at the top end, that next tier, and then there's probably the Ed Oliver bucket. So let's not act like he's paid like he's Chris Jones. He's not. Not close to that. But obviously, a healthy amount of money to him, and you're not getting the impact expected for that contract, especially after what you got last year. So Ed's not making the impact. He's not getting off contact. He's not getting in the backfield nearly as much. One thing that I find to be interesting that I think has something to do with the downtick in production for Ed Oliver is the downtick in defensive line stunts. Ed Oliver is a player that can get to a half-man relationship and use athleticism and power around an edge, and obviously he's got good quickness and change of direction, and he can make plays. But Ed Oliver is also very good when he stunts. And what I mean by stunts is you twist, you loop, you have a defensive end come down and Ed Oliver go around, right? There's just different defensive line stunts that you can run that help a player like Ed Oliver. And there's a pretty significant decrease in defensive line stunts this year. Last year in 2023, the Bills stunted their defensive line on passing downs 21.6% of the time. This year, they stunt on passing downs 17.4% of the time. And the numbers are pretty interesting. This year, when the Bills stunt their defensive line on passing downs, they have a pressure rate of 45.7 and a pressure rate of 14.48 over expectation. And so what is pressure rate over expectation? It's the pressure generated based on time to throw for the quarterback. So what would be the normal expectation? When they don't stunt this year, the pressure rate goes from 45.7 down to 27.9, and the pressure rate over expectation goes from 14.48% to minus 2.76%. I think that negatively impacts Ed Oliver that they're only stunting on 17% of passing downs. Now, going back to last year, the numbers were a little bit more even, but also with more stunts. So last year, when they stunted on 21.6% of passing downs, the Bills had a pressure rate of 38.4% and a pressure rate over expectation of 4.31. When they did not stunt last year, the pressure rate was 36.1, so very close to the 38.4. And the pressure rate over expectation was actually pretty good, 8.35%, which is up from 4.31. So obviously you don't have Leonard Floyd, right? That's a piece that you don't have. You don't have 2023 Ed Oliver. And I think that's showing up. But I also think that Bobby Babich has got to dial up some more stunts to get him moving and not make it so much go win one-on-one. Present opportunities for Ed Oliver to get free and use his athleticism. And look, I think it's fair to point out that, you know, a handsomely paid defensive tackle, you shouldn't really have to go out of your way to find good opportunities for him to be effective. But that's the reality of the situation. How can you help him be more effective? I think you can stunt him more. And then I think also last year, Taron Johnson and Ed Oliver, they played off each other so much better, right? Like, that was, if you remember the All-22 reviews from last year, and I would send out the film clips to everybody, boy, did I have a lot to say about how 91 and 92 played off each other. You don't get that same type of deal this year. So, yeah, it's undeniable the lack of impact. It's not good enough. I think they can help him by stunting more, but Ed's just got to play better. He's got to meet the expectation, and it's a big part of what this team can be down the stretch. I think that's where I find some level of encouragement, and as I've said a few times, I know Ed Oliver's a better player than this. I know Taron Johnson is a better player than this. And I think Daquan's kind of woken up over the last couple of weeks, but unfortunately, Ed Oliver hasn't. And I thought maybe the last 2 weeks before the last 2 weeks, I thought Ed Oliver woke up a little bit. So they got to get it going together. And if they do, that would be huge for this Bills defense. This one here comes from Casey, who says, not sure how much of this is recency bias after a rough game against the Rams, but have your thoughts changed on sliding Dorian Williams onto the field as a third linebacker? Obviously, Taron Johnson is outstanding, but he got cooked yesterday. Was this just a rough game for him, or do you think the Bills should entertain three linebackers and leave Taron off the field in certain instances? So let's start by talking about the plan for for Matt Milano. I am a little surprised by the plan, right? I thought it would be more of a platoon and then a gradual takeover, and that's not been the case. Matt Milano's played just about every snap, minus in his first game back, about 23% of the snaps he was off the field for dime. This past week, it was about 16% of the field off the field for dime defense. The Bills are very much content to let Matt Milano play himself into form. And obviously the ceiling with Matt Milano, the proof of concept with Matt Milano as a high-impact playmaking linebacker in the NFL is pretty significant, and the Bills would like to have that back on their defense. That's also been over 400 days between games for Matt Milano, and, you know, it's not easy to step in and just be the player you once were. And the Bills feel like the best way for him to get back to form is to play. They've told us that with their actions. Let me make something very clear. Taron Johnson is an excellent run defender. Excellent. Against the Rams, he was terrible against the pass. It wasn't his run defense that was the problem. It was his coverage. And the Rams live in 11 personnel, like 90% of their snaps, 11 personnel, which is 3 wide receivers and 1 tight end. Do you really want to see Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua matched up with Dorian Williams, Taylor Rapp, and Damar Hamlin? Because that's what you're signing up for if you take Taron Johnson off the field. Now, I have an appetite for 3 linebackers situationally against heavy personnel teams. For sure. For sure. I definitely like that, and I think finally the Bills might have the case to have 3 worthy linebackers to put on the field in Bernard, Milano, and Williams. And that's probably the first time I've been able to say that ever under Sean McDermott. So I'm curious to see where that goes. I'm not convinced they will. But you can't sit there and eat it against a team like the Lions, which they will play bigger personnel, and not help your run defense because they're going to run it into oblivion. Like, it's going to get really, really ugly. But again, I don't watch the Bills' run defense and think to myself, man, Taron Johnson's the problem. If anything, I think, wow, Taron Johnson's really freaking good. Defensive linemen got to stop getting turned out of their gaps. The Bills' defensive ends got to stop losing the edge, in particular, A.J. Epinesa and Casey Tuhill. Second level's got to get off blocks. They can't get crossed up with misdirection and out of the fits. So when I think about how their Bills' run defense can be better, boy, I've got so many things that I would get to before I would say, you know what? Taron Johnson's a slot corner. He's not super big. Let's put in a third linebacker. Boy, I think it's so many other things. And I think the tape plainly bears that out. All right, coming up on the other side of it, we're talking a little Sean McDermott. Folks, be sure to stick with me. Today's episode is sponsored by Built Rewards. If you're a renter, listen up. This is a total game changer. Thanks to Built, you can now earn points on rent payments just like you do groceries or travel. Paying rent now comes with serious perks, and it's completely free to join. You can earn valuable Built points on your rent and everyday spending at no extra cost. You can redeem points for flights, hotel stays, and even future rent payments. With over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels in their program, the possibilities are endless. Plus, you get access to unique experiences that are exclusive to Built members. Anybody, you love using points for travel. Built makes it easy to turn rent payments into rewards. If you're already paying rent, why not make it work for you? Start earning points on rent when you're already paying rent by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. That's joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. Make sure to use our link so they know that we sent you. Don't wait. Start earning rewards today. All right, folks, the next one here comes from Solomon. Solomon says, what's your take on why the gut reaction from so many fans after the loss is to fire the coach? This year especially. Please bring some rationale to these people. I'm not going to tell you or anybody how to fan. If you want to spend your Bills fandom frustrated with Sean McDermott and call for his head anytime the Bills lose a game, that's your choice. People are welcome to have whatever thought or beliefs they want to have. This podcast is a portfolio of my opinions. I don't expect and I don't want everyone to agree with everything I say. I think Bills Mafia recognizes how special of a player Josh Allen is. Might be the best player in the league. And I think fans are very anxious about winning a Super Bowl. It's never happened. We're tired of it not happening. We're tired of being reminded of 4 consecutive Super Bowl losses. We're tired of Patrick Mahomes. We're tired of Tom Brady. And we want it badly. And we fully believe Josh Allen can bring that to us. Now, with that in mind, I think there's a tendency to be really hard on everything that isn't Josh Allen that might get in the way of Josh Allen winning a Super Bowl for the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen's elite. Whenever the Bills lose a game, a lot of times, because Josh Allen is such a special player, he's going to play great and do special things, but the Bills might lose a game. But wins are not a quarterback stat. And logically, more times than not, a loss is going to be because of things that aren't Josh Allen, and things that aren't Josh Allen weren't as good as Josh Allen and led to a Bills loss, and nobody likes that. Coaches have strengths and weaknesses like any person who does any job. McDermott's a great leader. He's a great culture builder. He's a great game planner. I think he's a great adjuster in games, but he can be chaotic situationally. It's undeniable. I wish that was different. I'm also very happy with the leadership, the culture building, the game planning, the ability to make adjustments. You hear what this Sabres general manager said a couple weeks ago? That doesn't exist with these Buffalo Bills, but boy, it did before. It did before for sure. This team is 10-3 and in a transition year. The conversations that we were having before the Rams game are starkly different than they are today. It's crazy how that game has soiled this season for so many people. Now, I could sit here, I could go on and on about the unprecedented success that the team has had under Sean McDermott, not just relative to the Bills. We know that, but relative to the rest of the NFL since McDermott's been the coach. And McDermott haters are going to sit here and tell you that it's because of Josh Allen. I remember 2017 that didn't include Josh Allen. I remember 2019 that featured a fraction of what Josh Allen is today. And until the Bills win the Super Bowl, McDermott doubters, they're going to pick their spots to be loud. And after this Rams loss, it was a tasty opportunity for the McDermott haters to come out and yell and scream and I told you so and lose their minds. They were pretty quiet during the 7-game win streak. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? I think it's a lot of anxiety over how good Josh Allen is, the lack of a Super Bowl, and it's precipitating on McDermott in these moments where it's not the result that you want. And because we're spoiling Josh Allen, which is going to be the case anytime it doesn't go right for the Bills, because Josh Allen's special, probably the best player in the league. Get those fingers pointing everywhere you can. And God forbid you say Josh Allen did something wrong. What do you want? What do you want the Bills to do? I don't believe Terry Pegula is thinking for a second about moving on from Sean McDermott. He signed through 2027. They're building a stadium. The Sabres stink out loud. He hasn't made a single good decision ever for the Buffalo Sabres, it appears. He hired Rex Ryan. The resume for Terry Pegula hiring GMs and head coaches is deplorable, but you know what? He stumbled into Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane. And yeah, I do think the Bills should fire Sean McDermott and hire Andy Reid. Boy, yeah, definitely do that for sure. What do you want? What do you want? You want some rookie head coach to come in here because he's got a cool scheme that you like? You see some of these first-year head coaches and how they suck at managing games? Come on now. So I recognize all the dynamics in play here, and I feel like it leads to bad conversations and good objective conversations about Sean McDermott. Not perfect coach. He's not. Things can get chaotic. There's no question. But what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Want to hire Ben Johnson? That guy doesn't even want to be a head coach. Want to hire Aaron Glenn? What do you want to do? Hire Mike Vrabel? You want Bill Belichick to show up with a 400-page book and tell you how to run an organization? Hand it over to that guy? Completely retool your roster to fit the weird ways that he wants to play the game? Again, the Bills should definitely fire Sean McDermott and hire Andy Reid. I think that would be a great plan. Nigel says Josh Allen is playing the most efficient football of his career, breaking records left and right, and it's incredible to witness and be a fan of. But after Sunday's game against the Rams, All I can picture is a division playoff game against the Chiefs where Mahomes just has all day to throw and is completely pressure-free. With Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones being as ineffective as they've been this season, are we simply gearing up for a repeat? An unreal game by 17, only for the team to come up short because Mahomes was able to run wild. Here it is, right? Just talked about it. I hope not, Nigel. I hope not. That possibility exists for any team against Kansas City. That's not a unique Bills thing. The Bills, maybe their best pass rush game of the season came against Kansas City this year. I understand it's been a different story in the playoffs. I've highlighted this every year. The regular season success against Mahomes is off the charts. They can't sniff him in the playoffs. It's widely understood that the defensive line hasn't been good enough in playoff elimination games, and it hasn't been good enough this year. So, yeah, is there a wide open path for that to be the case? Sure. Hope not. Let's play all the games. Let's see what happens. Enjoy it. You're in the good years of being a Bills fan. They got a chance. They got a capacity to do it in a transition year. Let's enjoy it, folks. Maybe they fall short. Maybe the defensive line's not good enough. Maybe they make a big mistake at a crucial moment. But this team just clinched the division with 5 games left to play. There's going to be at least one home playoff game at Highmark Stadium. Enjoy the ride, folks. Please enjoy the ride. All right, we got more to get to on the other side of it, folks. Be sure to stick with me. Hey, Locked On Bills fans, I know that you're like me and look, your holiday shopping, let's say it's just a little bit far from complete. Well, if that's the case, I got the perfect gift for you. Here it is. It's the Ice Shaker. This is perfect for any passionate sports fan in your life. If you're a Bills fan, you're looking for a gift for a Bills fan, get them this Ice Shaker. It's created by and used by the Gronkowski brothers. Ice Shakers have sold over 1 million bottles. They've changed the game with the workout bottles. It's what I have right here. And this is the gift you're looking for. I got a deal for you. Go to iceshakers.com, not Ice Shakers, iceshaker.com. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at checkout. That'll get you 25% off your order. This thing is high quality, kitchen grade stainless steel. It's not going to absorb odor like a plastic bottle. Like if you put coffee or you put Gatorade or something in this, it's not going to stink. It's kitchen grade stainless steel. It's a wonderful design. It's got the rubber bottom. You got the pop top. You get the handle, twist top to open it up with a rubber grip. And then I love this. They have the twist-in agitator. So this agitator comes out. So if you want it in there, you can keep it in there. If not, you can pull it out. But it's great for shaking up like protein. It's great for making mixed drinks at the tailgate. This thing is awesome. It's a metal cup here, and it's such a good product. High quality. The design is good. All of the markings on here are engraved right into the stainless steel. It's high quality. Tons of detail. Check it out. Get one for yourself. Get one for the Bills fan in your life. Got a deal for you again. iceshaker.com. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at checkout for 25% off your order. Check it out, folks. It's the gift you're looking for yourself and everyone else that's a Bills fan on your list. Next one today comes from Justin, who says, with people off the rails about the loss to Los Angeles, I find myself annoyed with the fire McDermott or Bills are wasting Allen's prime years crowd. Bills are 10-3 in a reset year. People need to relax. I still continue to believe this team will go as far as the D-line will allow. Allen can score with anyone, but this D-line never seems to perform when needed to. Bean has tried to improve it, but what can he do to get that game record this team needs badly? Is it free agency or continuing to swing in the draft? I'd like to see a known commodity brought in next year somehow. Yeah, I think it's got to be a huge priority of the offseason. You got to keep swinging. The miscalculations have been costly, and some of that's unfortunate, like, Von Miller getting hurt. But, Daquan Jones came back, and, boy, kind of wish he didn't, right? And signed through next year. He's got a decent cap hit. A.J. Epinesa just continues to be A.J. Epinesa. Just now he's paid more. There's been some miscalculations along the way. There's no question. Have you gotten what you want out of these depth players? There's a lot of work to be done here. And this coming draft is loaded. I'm about 30 evaluations into this coming class, and I've really enjoyed so many of the defensive linemen. Hopefully there's some good options available for the Bills, but they have to figure it out. 4 of the top 8 cap hits for this team in 2025 are defensive linemen. Von Miller, Ed Oliver, Greg Rousseau, Daquan Jones. They need more. They just need more. And so the draft, free agency, trade, yeah, I'm here for all of the ideas because this defensive line has got to be better. And if you guys have been listening to this podcast for any length of time. I've been talking about this. Everyone wanted receivers. I'm like, give me a number one pass rusher, please. Keep swinging. Just got to keep swinging. Bradley says we're often critical of some of McDermott's decisions in big moments and or games. You said it yourself that he and Bobby Babich were outcoached in Los Angeles. Do the potential playoff coaching matchups against Andy Reid, Mike Tomlin, the Harbaugh brothers, Peyton concern you at all? Well, I think there's a big difference between being out schemed in a particular game and then like decision making in big moments. I think those are very different things. McDermott rarely gets outcoached. I mean, the Bills are in every single game. I think they have like 2 losses in like the last 6 years by more than 1 score. I mean, if the Bills lose, it's really tight and it's annoying. But I rarely watch a game and think, you know what, man, they just didn't have the right stuff. Of course, that just happened against the Rams, but pretty rare that that's the case. The Ravens, it's happened twice this year where they just didn't have the right stuff. And all the coaches you just mentioned, Sean McDermott's had plenty of success against them. It's not like Sean McDermott shows up to games and he's overmatched with his ability to game plan and adjust and have his team in good situations. Sometimes it's decision-making in a critical moment. I'm way more concerned that the defensive line won't make a big enough impact than I am Sean McDermott showing up without the right formula to win a football game. Peter says, I understand the frustration around the defense, but can I offer up an alternative narrative? The Rams just played a perfect offensive game. Stafford threw strikes all night, and the receivers were arguably the best in the league. I'm actually kind of giddy that Josh locked up a well-deserved MVP. Last, I have no concerns about beating Kansas City either here or there. The fact that we stayed in that game until the end was a demonstration of our 2024 determination. That game was an outlier and, by the way, was totally awesome, like the best loss I can ever recall. I know that's not a question, but I'd love your thoughts. Well, Peter, I know that you sent this in before the All-22 review came out, but the All-22 review definitely illustrated that I align with what you're saying here. I think that it was an outlier game. The Bills are on the road. Stafford is a Hall of Fame quarterback that went off. I think they had better game plan and scheme with their offense against the Bills defense. They had a punt blocked return for a touchdown, and they won by 2. And I think what's crazy to me is the amount of people that are like focusing in on like the last 2 minutes of that game. When the Bills were down by 17 points with 5 minutes left in the third quarter, they trailed by 10 or 17 points for most of the game. The game was lost a lot sooner than the situational stuff that people are bringing up. Now, look, I think it's fair to talk about and question and wonder. I get all that stuff, but the bigger story of this game is not the quarterback sneak and a timeout or declining or accepting a penalty. It's way more of the other stuff. It's the end of the first half when the Bills had a chance to double dip and they couldn't convert a 3rd and 2. It's the first drive in the second half when the Bills have a chance to cut into the lead and they can't convert that 3rd down. Josh Allen can't connect with Khalil Shakir over the middle of the field. It's a misfire down the field to Mac Hollins. It should have been a touchdown. 2 plays later, it's a block punt return for a touchdown. It's that stuff just as much as it is. It's way more of that stuff than, I mean, I love Josh Allen, but I mean, we're talking about if the Bills score on that first quarterback sneak, he's got 15 seconds and no timeouts to go try to score. Like, it'd be fun to watch, but I mean, it's unlikely. We're rightfully upset about 9 players on the field for a punt block, but like, do you really think the Bills are going to block that punt? I'd like to have the best chance to do it. Like, don't get me wrong. And it's not okay. And all that stuff has to be fixed. And there's questions to be had. But boy, I can't believe that's the stuff we're talking about more than these other clearly bigger issues. To not be able to fit the run, and then the adjustments that you make to fit the run wind up destroying your ability to play in coverage, to not be able to get stops on 3rd downs. They converted 12 3rd and 4th downs. Like, that's the story of the game. I encourage you to watch Chris Long's analysis of this game, the Green Light podcast. It's phenomenal. I think Chris Long's maybe the best analyst in the world with football. And if you go to his YouTube feed, you can see his reaction to Rams and Bills, and I think he nailed it. I think he absolutely nailed it, and I think it'd be a great perspective for anyone to gain. That's not me. You know, I have my fandom. I have my own biases towards this team. That's obvious, right? Anybody would. Listen to Chris Long talk about this game. I think it'll help you land in a good spot. All right, folks, that's it for today. As always, I kindly ask that you share, subscribe, rate, and review. We start getting ready for the Detroit Lions next crossover Thursday, the primer, the final thoughts. Big one here in Detroit. Don't miss anything. Go Bills. And I look forward to catching up with you again real soon.